At 17 seconds after 8:15, on the clear, bright morning of August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. The pilots of the United States Air Force's 509th Composite Group could see flowers in the gardens below. The bomb weighed 9,000 pounds and was as powerful as 12,500 tons of TNT. The bomb exploded within 100 feet of the target. The fireball was 18,000 feet across. The temperature at the center of the fireball was as hot as the surface of the sun. Near the center, people became nothing. Near the center, there was no sound. The light from the bomb flashed whiter than any white, like a sheet of traveling sun. Eyes turned up to the bomb melted. Within 9 seconds, 100,000 people were killed or doomed, and 100,000 more injured. Within 9 seconds, the city caught fire. Asphalt and steel burned like paper. Then the day grew black with smoke and dust. Over the city rose a cloud of smoke 40,000 feet high. 2 hours later, drops of black rain, the size of marbles, began to fall.
Remember, I remember. A big light comes, very strong light. I never see so strong. I do not know what is happening. My friend, she and I are always together, but I could not find her. So dark it gets, so red like a fire. Always smoking dark red. I cannot see anyone. Many people run. I just follow. Pretty soon like fog, red fog, then gray, and people down all around me. Many people look so awful. Skin come off, just awful. Makes me so scared, so afraid. I never knew such hurt on people, not human. I think if I'm in hell, it is like this. No faces, no eyes, red and burnt over things, like women's hair, dusty and smoking is burning. Many people go into the river. I watch them. Many people are drinking water, but they fall in and die, and they float away. Voices cry, calling names. I cannot hear because so many voices cry or calling names. So many voices.
The light from the bomb created permanent shadows, burned into wood and etched onto stone. Leaves, flowers, and men disappeared, but their shadows remained. In Hiroshima on that day there was no panic, only ghastly stillness, the quiet of death. People moved slowly along the roads, like ghosts covered with dust and ash, and fell dead as they walked. By the river, people lay bleeding and died without weeping. People trapped under fallen houses called patiently, meekly, "Help, if I may ask." On that day, half the doctors were killed. At the hospitals, between 3,000 and 10,000 people came each day for help. And each day, 2,000 of them died. They were buried together because they were too many to bury separately. People lived in the hospitals. They had no other place to go. The center of Hiroshima was a reddish-brown scar 4 miles square. Between fallen buildings lay crumpled bicycles and shells of streetcars, halted in mid-motion. On piles of rubble and ash, children placed handwritten signs. "Sister, where are you?" In Hiroshima, no one knew what had happened. Almost no one heard the Japanese radio announce that the city had suffered some damage from what was believed to be a new type of bomb, and details were being investigated. Still, the war continued. Later, on August 9th, 1945, on a hot summer morning, calm, bright, and windless, at 2 minutes after 11 o'clock, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan. The descent lasted 40 seconds. The bomb exploded several miles from the target. In a single instant, 50,000 people died. Near the center, there was no sound. The Urakami Cathedral stood 600 yards from the bomb center. Here, statues turned black. The Mitsubishi factory stood 900 yards from the center. Here, 6,200 men were killed or injured. The medical college stood 600 yards from the center. 198 faculty and students died. 238 were injured. The Nagasaki penitentiary stood 300 yards from the center. 140 prisoners died in their cells. The Chenzai Middle School stood 550 yards from the center. Most of the children died as they sat at their desks. "650 yards from the center, trolley cars blew off their tracks. Passengers began to scream, and then the cars ignited and burned. At that same instant, onto the skin of some women were burned patterns from their kimono. On the 8th day after the bombing of Hiroshima, on the 5th day after the bombing of Nagasaki, the war between Japan and the United States ended. It was August 14th. On the 12th day, wounds that had not healed began to open wider. And on the 14th day, as they stood before their mirrors, women saw their hair come out in handfuls in their combs. Hospitals filled with patients who had not seemed sick before. They were vomiting, bleeding from the gums, and purple spots appeared on their skin. Some could not be touched because their skin slipped off in huge, glove-like pieces. At first they were quarantined, considered victims of a mysterious infectious disease. Gradually, it was understood that the disease was radiation sickness, and these people the special victims of the atomic bomb. And by the 20th day after the bomb, vegetation began to grow wildly in the wreckage of the cities. From charred remnants of plants, lush green weeds and wildflowers sprung again, madly, in extraordinary regeneration, stimulated by atomic radiation. And as people died of radiation sickness, the cities were blanketed with flowers. Watching the first atomic test, Robert Oppenheimer, one of the inventors of the bomb, said,
"I knew the world would not be the same. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu was trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, 'Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.'"
That was in 1945. Imagine 2,500 of those atomic bombs exploding in one place at one time with a force of 31 million tons of TNT. Today, single nuclear weapons are being tested as powerful as this. On the clear, bright morning of August 6, 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. The pilots of the United States Air Force's 509th Composite Group could see flowers in the gardens below. 17 seconds after 8:15, 10,000 feet across. The temperature at the center of the fireball was as hot as the surface of the sun. Near the center, people became nothing. Near the center, there was no sound. The light from the bomb flashed whiter than any white. The bomb weighed 9,000 pounds and was as powerful as 12,500 tons of TNT. The bomb exploded within 100 feet of the target. The fireball was 18